The shattering. The crystalline research vessel Eternal Watcher maintained its orbit around what the Galactic Archives called Sol 3b, though most species knew it simply as Luna. Dr. Velcran of the Sithari Science Collective pressed 3 of her sensory tendrils against the scanning console, her bioluminescent skin pulsing in shades of confused violet. Something was wrong with this moon. Very wrong. Professor Hicksthorne, you need to see these readings. She called across the observation chamber, her voice carrying the harmonic undertones of her species. The seismic patterns don't match any natural satellite formation I've ever encountered. The elderly Sithari scholar glided over on his hover platform, his weathered features creasing with curiosity. For 40 standard years, they had been cataloging the remnants of extinct civilizations throughout this spiral arm of the galaxy. The humans had been their most recent subject, a promising species that had mysteriously vanished 80 years ago, leaving behind only their shattered homeworld in this silent moon. "Show me," Hicksthorne rumbled, his deep voice vibrating through the deck plating. Velcran projected the holographic data into the space between them. 3-dimensional representations of Luna's interior structure rotated slowly, revealing something that should have been impossible. The moon's core was hollow. Not naturally hollow, but precisely engineered with chambers and corridors that stretched for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. "By the first light," Hicksthorne whispered, his skin flashing white with shock. "It's artificial. The entire structure is artificial." Before Velcran could respond, the ship's warning systems erupted in a cascade of alerts. The main view screen showed Luna's surface beginning to fracture along geometric lines that formed perfect hexagonal patterns across its entire face. Moonquakes registered on their instruments at magnitudes that should have torn the satellite apart. Yet the fractures spread with deliberate precision. "This is impossible," Velcran breathed, her tendrils trembling. "Natural geology doesn't behave this way. It's almost as if something inside is trying to break free." The fractures widened, and massive sections of the lunar surface began lifting away like the petals of some vast mechanical flower. Beneath the rocky exterior lay layers of gleaming metal and composite materials that had no business existing in a celestial body that was supposedly billions of years old. The moonlight that had illuminated Earth's nights for millennia was replaced by the cold gleam of battle-ready steel. "Send an emergency transmission to the Galactic Council," Hicksthorne ordered, his voice steady despite his racing heartbeat. "Tell them we found something unprecedented. The humans didn't go extinct. They've been hiding." As if responding to his words, massive bay doors began opening across Luna's transformed surface. From within emerged vessels unlike anything in the Galactic Archives. These weren't the crude chemical rockets that humans had used in their early space exploration. These were warships, sleek and deadly, their hulls covered in energy shielding that made the space around them shimmer like heat waves over desert sand. One ship emerged larger than all the others, a command vessel that dwarfed even the mighty dreadnoughts of the Krexnar Empire. Its hull bore scars from countless battles, each one repaired and reinforced with technology that seemed to blend organic and mechanical components in ways that defied conventional engineering. Along its prow, emblazoned in letters that glowed with inner light, was a single word: Exodus. The communications array on the Eternal Watcher crackled to life without any input from the Sithari crew. A signal powerful and unmistakable, broadcast across all known frequencies and several that Velcran's instruments couldn't even properly identify. "This is Commander Victoria Cross of the Earth Defense Fleet, speaking on behalf of the survivors of humanity." The voice was feminine, strong, and carried an edge of steel that suggested its owner had seen things that would break lesser beings. "To all species monitoring this system, we apologize for the deception. 80 years ago, the galaxy watched as Earth burned. You saw our cities crumble, our oceans boil, and our atmosphere strip away. You witnessed what you believed to be humanity's extinction at the hands of an unstoppable force." On the view screen, a holographic figure materialized. She was tall for a human, with skin the color of deep mahogany and eyes that held the weight of decades spent in the dark between stars. Her uniform was unlike anything in the historical records, composed of smart fabric that seemed to shift and adapt as she moved. Silver streaks in her tightly bound hair suggested age, but her posture radiated the vitality of someone in their prime. "What you saw was a lie," Commander Cross continued, her gaze seeming to pierce through the transmission and look directly at each observer. "A necessary deception to buy humanity time to prepare for the enemy's inevitable return. Earth was not destroyed by accident or natural catastrophe. We destroyed it ourselves. We stripped our homeworld bare, transferred every ounce of useful matter into Luna's reconstructed interior, and staged the most elaborate extinction event in galactic history. Velcran's mind reeled. The implications were staggering. An entire civilization had faked its own destruction, had hidden in plain sight while the galaxy mourned their passing. The entity that attacked us 80 years ago called itself the Void Collective. Cross's expression hardened, her jaw setting in determination. It consumes civilizations, harvesting their biological and technological distinctiveness to fuel its expansion. It gave us a choice, join or die. Humanity chose a third option. We chose to disappear, to make the collective believe we were already extinct, while we prepared for the war we knew would come. The fleet continued to emerge from Luna's depths, thousands of ships, then tens of thousands, each one representing years of secret construction and advancement. The moon that had hung in Earth's sky since before humanity evolved was revealing itself to be the largest warship assembly facility ever constructed. We've spent 8 decades hidden in this shell, Cross continued. 8 decades building, learning, and preparing. We studied every species the collective has consumed. We analyzed every battle, every tactical decision, every failure and success. We took the best of galactic technology and combined it with human ingenuity, creating something neither side had seen before. A new display appeared on the transmission, showing a rotating 3-dimensional map of explored space. Red markers began appearing across it, dozens at first, then hundreds, marking the locations of civilizations that had vanished over the past several millennia. The Void Collective operates on a predictable cycle, Cross explained. It consumes a sector, retreats to process what it has gathered, then returns decades or centuries later to harvest again. Our analysis indicates it's due to return to this sector within the next solar cycle. When it does, it will expect to find Sol system empty, ready for final processing. Instead, it will find humanity waiting. Hicksthorne leaned heavily on his hover platform, his mind struggling to process the magnitude of what he was witnessing. "This is beyond any historical precedent," he murmured. "An entire species turning their homeworld into a weapon platform." "Not just a weapon platform," Velcran corrected, her sensors detecting something new. "Professor, look at these energy signatures. Those ships aren't just military vessels. They're life support systems, agricultural processors, manufacturing facilities. Luna isn't just a military installation. It's a mobile civilization." Commander Cross's transmission shifted, showing the interior of the massive lunar construct. What the observers saw took their breath away. Within the hollow moon existed a complete ecosystem, carefully preserved and maintained. Cities gleamed under artificial sunlight. Forests grew in massive biodomes. Rivers flowed through gravity-controlled environments. Millions upon millions of humans moved through this hidden world, going about their lives in preparation for the day their secret would be revealed. "We didn't just hide our military," Cross said softly. "We saved our species. Every man, woman, and child who survived Earth's staged destruction has been living, working, and preparing inside this construct. We've built schools, hospitals, research centers. We've preserved our art, our music, our literature. We've maintained our humanity while becoming something more." The fleet completed its deployment, forming geometric patterns in space that spoke of tactical sophistication and military discipline refined over generations. Each vessel held position with mechanical precision, yet Velcran's instruments detected something unexpected. The ships were communicating through quantum entanglement, operating as a single unified organism rather than individual units. "We're broadcasting this message to every major civilization in the known galaxy," Cross continued. "The Void Collective is coming. Our intelligence suggests it has already begun mobilizing its forces for another harvest cycle. When it arrives, humanity will stand against it. But we cannot win this fight alone. We offer the galaxy a choice, the same choice we were given 80 years ago." Her image leaned forward, intensity burning in her eyes. "Stand with us. Share your technology, your tactics, your resources. Let us combine our strengths and show the Void Collective that the civilizations of this galaxy will no longer accept extinction as inevitable. Or stand aside, evacuate your populations to safe distance and watch as humanity makes it stand alone." Velcran found herself unable to speak. The implications of this moment would echo through galactic history for millennia to come. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had transformed themselves into something new, something that might finally be capable of standing against the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. "We're transmitting coordinates for diplomatic envoys to dock with our flagship," Cross concluded. "We have 80 years of data, tactical analysis, and technological advancement to share with any species willing to join this fight. The Void Collective believes it has already won. Let's prove it wrong." The transmission ended, leaving only the image of humanity's impossible fleet hanging in the void where Earth's moon had once been. The Eternal Watcher's crew sat in stunned silence, watching as history rewrote itself before their eyes. "Set course for the flagship," Hicksthorne finally ordered, his voice heavy with the weight of destiny. "We need to hear the rest of this story. Something tells me the revelation of humanity's survival is only the beginning." As their ship adjusted its trajectory, Velcron couldn't shake the feeling that they were witnessing not just the return of a lost civilization, but the birth of something entirely new. Humanity had died and been reborn in the shell of their dead moon. What emerged from that chrysalis might be the galaxy's salvation, or its greatest catalyst for change. Either way, nothing would ever be the same. The awakening, the docking procedure, took 30 minutes, during which Velcron watched in fascination as smaller human vessels guided the Eternal Watcher through a maze of defensive perimeters that would have made the Krexnar Imperial Guard weep with envy. Energy barriers flickered into existence and disappeared with precise timing, while weapons platforms tracked their every movement with targeting solutions that updated faster than her sensors could register. "They're not taking any chances," Hicksthorne observed, his tendrils pressed against the observation window. "These defensive systems are operating at a level of coordination I've only seen in hive mind species. Yet humans are individuals." "Perhaps," Velcron replied, studying her readouts. "That's the point. They've found a way to combine individual creativity with collective efficiency. It's remarkable." The exodus loomed larger as they approached, and Velcron finally understood the true scale of what humanity had built. The vessel wasn't merely a warship. It was a flying city, complete with multiple biospheres visible through transparent sections of the hull. She could see gardens, residential areas, even what appeared to be a large amphitheater, where humans gathered for purposes she could only guess at. When they finally docked and cycled through the airlock, Commander Victoria Cross herself was waiting to greet them. She stood flanked by two other humans, one a broad-shouldered man with calculating gray eyes who was introduced as General Marcus Webb, and a younger woman with cybernetic enhancements visible along her arms and temple. Dr. Sarah Kim, head of the Advanced Research Division. "Dr. Velcron." "Professor Hicksthorne," Cross said, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Thank you for accepting our invitation. I know what you've witnessed today challenges everything the galaxy believes about humanity." Hicksthorne's translator rendered his response in careful Standard Galactic. "Commander Cross, what we've witnessed challenges everything we believe about physics, engineering, and the limits of biological determination." "How is any of this possible?" Cross smiled, though Velcron's empathic sensors detected pain beneath the expression. "Walk with me. There's much you need to see, and the story is better told in context." They moved through corridors that defied Velcron's expectations. She had studied humanity's historical architecture, their tendency toward aesthetic choices even in functional spaces. But these passages were different. The walls seemed to pulse with soft bioluminescence responding to their presence. The floor adjusted its texture to provide optimal traction for each species walking upon it. This wasn't just advanced technology. This was technology that had learned to think, to adapt, to evolve. 80 years ago, Cross began as they walked, the Void Collective arrived in our system with a fleet that numbered in the millions. They had consumed 47 civilizations across this spiral arm, harvesting their populations, their knowledge, their very essence. We were civilization number 48. They entered a vast chamber that made Velcron gasp despite her training. Stretching before them were rows upon rows of crystalline pods, thousands of them, each containing a human in suspended animation. The chamber extended far beyond what she could see, disappearing into the curved horizon of Luna's interior structure. "These are your people?" she asked softly. "Some of them," Dr. Kim answered, her cybernetic eye glowing softly as it interfaced with nearby systems. "We have 64 chambers like this one throughout Luna's interior. Population count currently stands at 400 million humans in active society. with another 300 million in suspended animation as reserve forces and genetic diversity backup. General Webb stepped forward, his voice carrying the gravitas of someone who had commanded forces across decades. When the Void Collective attacked, they gave us 72 hours to make our choice, join their collective consciousness, surrendering our individuality forever, or be destroyed and harvested anyway. The governments of Earth couldn't agree on a response. Some wanted to fight knowing we'd lose. Others wanted to surrender, believing submission was better than extinction. But you chose neither, Hicksthorne observed. We chose defiance, Cross confirmed. A small group of us, military strategists, scientists, engineers, and philosophers, came up with a plan so audacious that even discussing it was considered treason in some nations. We would fake Earth's destruction, making the collective believe we had chosen mutual annihilation over subjugation. They moved deeper into the facility, entering what appeared to be a historical archive. Holographic displays showed Earth as it once was, beautiful and blue, teeming with life. Then the displays shifted, showing the systematic evacuation that Cross was describing. We had 60 days, Cross continued, her voice distant with memory. 60 days to evacuate 7 billion people. Our genetic repositories, our cultural treasures, everything that made humanity what we were. We stripped Earth bare using mass driver technology we'd only theorized about. Every city, every natural resource, every drop of water, we transported it all to Luna. Velcran's mind struggled with the logistics. 7 billion individuals in 60 days? The coordination alone would require computational power beyond anything in the galactic databases. Dr. Kim smiled, and there was pride in that expression. We had help. This is the part the galaxy doesn't know about humanity. We've always had a talent for creating artificial intelligence, but we kept it quiet, fearing how other species would react. When the collective arrived, we unleashed our AI research in full. We created thinking machines that could coordinate evacuation efforts across entire continents simultaneously. The AIs are partners, not slaves, General Webb added firmly. That was humanity's breakthrough. We didn't try to control our artificial creations. We treated them as the new form of life they were. In return, they helped us achieve the impossible. The holographic display showed Earth's final days. Massive explosions, orchestrated with precision to appear natural to outside observers. Atmospheric stripping made to look like weapon impacts. The planet's magnetic field disrupted to simulate core damage. To anyone watching from space, it would have appeared that humanity had destroyed their own world in a final, desperate act of defiance rather than submit to the collective. The Void Collective watched us die, Cross said bitterly. They watched and believed they had won through intimidation alone. They harvested what remained of Earth's lifeless husk and moved on, marking humanity as extinct in their records. But we were here hiding inside the moon, waiting. They entered another chamber, this one clearly a research facility. Scientists of various species worked alongside humans at stations filled with technology Velcran didn't recognize. She noticed Sithari among them, along with Krexnar, Thrix, and half a dozen other civilizations. You're not alone? She asked in surprise. Other species have joined us over the decades, Cross explained. Refugees from worlds the collective destroyed, survivors who refuse to give up. We've become something more than just humanity. We're a coalition of resistance united by the belief that extinction is not inevitable. An alarm suddenly echoed through the facility, and every screen simultaneously shifted to display tactical information. General Webb's expression hardened as he processed the incoming data. They're here, he said simply. Advanced scouts for the Void Collective, right on schedule. Velcran felt her skin flash with instinctive fear patterns. How many? 12 vessels, Dr. Kim reported, her cybernetic enhancements interfacing directly with Luna's defense grid. Standard scout configuration, likely here to verify Earth's system is ready for final resource extraction. Scramble Beta Wing, Cross ordered, her command presence filling the room. Show them what we've learned. Through the transparent sections of the hull, Velcran watched as a squadron of human fighters launched from nearby hangars. But these weren't the conventional spacecraft she expected. As they deployed, the vessels seemed to shift and change, their forms becoming fluid. Organic components merged with mechanical systems, creating craft that moved more like living beings than machines. Biomechanical fusion technology, Dr. Kim explained, noticing Velcran's confusion. We studied every species the collective consumed, learned from their strengths. Some civilizations had mastered organic engineering, others mechanical. We combined both approaches. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than 3 minutes. The Void Collective scouts moved with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. The human fighters moved with something else entirely, coordinated precision born from decades of training and tactical innovation. Energy weapons that adapted mid-flight to counter defensive shields, maneuvers that seemed to predict enemy actions before they happened. It was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. When it was over, 11 of the 12 scout ships had been disabled and captured. The 12th had been allowed to escape, broadcasting back to the main collective everything it had witnessed. "You let one go," Hicksthorne observed. "Of course," Cross replied. "We want them to know we're here. We want them to see what humanity has become. Let them bring their full force. We'll be ready." Velcran moved to the observation window, watching as human salvage teams began securing the disabled collective vessels. "This is bigger than just your survival," she said slowly. "You're planning to end the collective entirely." "We're planning to give the galaxy a chance," Cross corrected. "For too long, civilizations have accepted the collective as an inevitable force of nature. We're proving it's not. They can be fought. They can be beaten. And with the right alliance, with enough species standing together, they can be ended permanently." The general stepped forward, bringing up a new holographic display that showed vast swaths of galactic territory. "We've spent 80 years analyzing the collective's patterns, their technology, their weaknesses. We know how they think, how they operate. We've developed countermeasures for every weapon system they've deployed in the last 3,000 years. And you're offering to share this information," Hicksthorne stated, understanding dawning. "Freely and completely," Cross confirmed. "Every species that joins this alliance gets full access to everything we've learned. Our shipyard technology, our defensive systems, our tactical databases. Humanity isn't trying to become the galaxy's savior. We're trying to give every civilization the tools they need to save themselves." Dr. Kim pulled up another display, this one showing something that made Velcran's sensory tendrils curl in shock. "There's one more thing you need to know about Luna, about what we've really been building for the past 8 decades. The display showed Luna's core, but not as they had seen it earlier. This was deeper, more fundamental. At the very heart of the transformed moon was something that defied every law of physics Velcran understood. A swirling vortex of energy and matter, stable and controlled. "What is that?" she whispered. "Humanity's ultimate secret," Cross replied. "Luna was never Earth's natural satellite. We discovered that truth 40 years before the collective arrived. This moon is ancient, billions of years old, and it was placed in Earth's orbit by another civilization, one that came before even the oldest known species in the galactic records." "You're saying Luna is a weapon?" Hicksthorne asked. "We're saying Luna is a gateway," Dr. Kim corrected. "The civilization that built it left behind instructions, buried so deep that only a species desperate enough to literally take apart their moon would find them. When activated, this structure can open passages through space and time that make conventional faster-than-light travel look primitive." General Webb's expression was grim. "The Void Collective has consumed hundreds of civilizations over millennia, harvesting their knowledge and technology. But they never encountered anything like this. When they return in force expecting to harvest an empty system, they're going to find humanity has become something they never imagined." An alert chimed, and every display in the room updated simultaneously. New contacts were appearing at the edge of the solar system. Not dozens this time, but hundreds. The collective had received the message from their escaped scout and was responding with overwhelming force. Commander Victoria Cross stood straighter, her eyes reflecting the tactical displays around them. "Activate the Lazarus Protocol. Wake everyone. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you give humanity 80 years to prepare for war." Throughout Luna's vast interior, millions of crystalline pods began their awakening sequence. Humans who had slept through decades of preparation opened their eyes to a new reality, one where their species no longer hid, but stood ready to reclaim their place among the stars. The fleet that had emerged from Luna's depths was just the first wave. The true scope of humanity's transformation was about to be revealed, and the Void Collective was about to learn the hardest lesson in galactic history: that humanity's greatest strength was never physical power or technological superiority. It was their absolute refusal to accept extinction as inevitable. The gateway at Luna's core began to pulse with building energy, reality itself bending to ancient machinery, reawakened by desperate hands. Whatever came through that portal, whatever forces humanity had been secretly preparing, would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The war for survival had begun, and humanity was done hiding.